Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, we bring you breaking news from Syria, where a major statement from Syrian rebel leader Jolan has sent shockwaves throughout the region and the international community. After the fall of President Bashar al-Assad's regime in Damascus, which has upended Syria's political and military landscape, Jolan has made a bombshell declaration concerning the terrorist organization ISIS, warning of the risks posed by the group's potential resurgence in Syria. Jolan's comments come at a time of heightened concern among global powers, especially the United States and Turkey, who fear that ISIS could exploit the current chaos following Assad's fall. Both countries have expressed deep anxiety over the possibility that the vacuum left by Assad's departure could allow ISIS to reassert itself in areas where it previously held sway, potentially destabilizing not just Syria, but the entire region. In his statement, Jolan, leader of the Syrian rebel coalition, directly addressed these fears, assuring both his supporters and the international community that the Syrian opposition is determined to prevent the spread of ISIS and other extremist groups in the aftermath of Assad's collapse. "We will not allow ISIS or any other extremist group to hijack Syria's future," Jolan declared in a broadcast that was picked up worldwide. "The Syrian people have suffered enough. Our revolution was never about allowing terror to take hold. We fight for freedom, democracy, and peace." This powerful message came after increasing reports that ISIS has been attempting to reorganize its forces in Syria's fractured territory. Though ISIS's so-called caliphate was largely dismantled by a coalition of international forces over the past several years, including both US-led military operations and regional efforts, the organization has shown resilience. Analysts and intelligence agencies have warned of ISIS's ability to re-emerge as a threat, especially given the instability in Syria following the fall of the Assad regime, which has been a critical force in the fight against ISIS. Jolan's statement was likely aimed at both reaffirming the resolve of the opposition and addressing the pressing concerns of the global community. The collapse of Assad's regime creates a dangerous void, and fears are growing that the extremist group may be able to take advantage of the situation. The United States has repeatedly voiced its concerns over the potential for ISIS to capitalize on Syria's new power vacuum. In a recent briefing, U.S. State Department officials confirmed that they are closely monitoring the situation, emphasizing the need for vigilance in countering any ISIS resurgence. "We remain committed to working with our partners on the ground to prevent ISIS from finding a foothold in Syria again," said Secretary of State Antony Blinken in a statement earlier this week. Turkey, too, has expressed significant concern. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a key player in the region, issued a statement urging all factions in Syria to prioritize the fight against ISIS and prevent any resurgence of terrorist activities. "The fall of Assad's government is a turning point, but we must not allow ISIS or any other terrorist group to gain from this moment of instability," Erdogan warned, adding that Turkey would continue to play a central role in the region's security. Jolan's remarks come at a critical juncture. As the leader of the Syrian opposition, he is acutely aware of the fragile situation in Syria and the need to build trust both within the country and with international partners. While his declaration promises a firm stance against ISIS, the reality on the ground remains complicated. The Syrian opposition, composed of a wide array of factions, including secular and Islamist groups, faces significant challenges in unifying under a single banner. The collapse of Assad's regime has fractured the country into various zones of influence controlled by different armed groups, including both the moderate opposition and more radical factions. This fragmentation could hinder efforts to effectively combat ISIS, which often thrives in regions where governance and security are weak. However, there is an underlying concern that, despite Jolan's promises, there may be groups within the opposition that either sympathize with extremist ideologies or are too fractured to present a united front. This issue has been a source of tension between the United States and various factions within the Syrian opposition, with Washington pushing for greater consolidation and accountability within the rebel forces to ensure they do not serve as a breeding ground for extremism. The broader regional implications of this situation cannot be overstated. Syria has long been a battleground for proxy wars involving numerous foreign powers, including Iran, Russia, and the United States. With Assad's fall, these countries are recalibrating their strategies in response to a rapidly changing landscape. Iran, in particular, has invested heavily in supporting Assad throughout the civil war, and its influence in Syria could diminish as the opposition gains ground. The question now is whether Iran, along with Hezbollah and other allied militias, will continue to push for a presence in Syria or if they will withdraw in response to the shifting dynamics. Moreover, the Kurdish issue remains unresolved. Syrian Kurds, who have been instrumental in the fight against ISIS, control large areas of northern Syria, and their future is a key point of contention. Turkey views Kurdish groups such as the Syrian Democratic Forces (SDF) as terrorists linked to the PKK, a Kurdish separatist group. The growing autonomy of Kurdish forces in northern Syria could lead to further friction with Ankara, which has already conducted several military operations against Kurdish fighters in the region. In addition to these regional concerns, the humanitarian situation in Syria is dire. With the collapse of the Assad regime, millions of Syrians remain displaced, and the risk of further displacement grows as the security situation deteriorates. ISIS's tactics of terror, including mass executions, enslavement, and the destruction of cultural heritage, have left deep scars across the country. Rebuilding Syria will require not only military action to secure territory from extremists but also massive international aid and diplomatic efforts to create a stable, inclusive government that can accommodate the country's diverse ethnic and religious groups. As Jolan's statement highlights, the opposition is making it clear that it does not intend to let ISIS or other radical groups gain from Syria's turmoil. However, the path ahead is fraught with challenges. Rebuilding the country and ensuring the security of all Syrians will require sustained international cooperation, along with the formation of a unified and credible opposition that can work with global powers to neutralize the ISIS threat. In conclusion, while Jolan's declaration may bring some hope and reassurance, the struggle for Syria's future is far from over. The international community, including the United States, Turkey, and regional powers, must work together to support efforts to counter terrorism and establish lasting peace in a post-Assad Syria. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether ISIS can truly be defeated in Syria and whether the country can begin to heal from years of devastating conflict.